Look at it, Michael. The chipped paint, the uneven bolts. This thing ruins the entire streetscape. I've tried being patient. I've tried working through proper channels. The gasoline splashed in Marge's trembling hands as she circled the swing set, her whisper carrying that same tone she used at HOA meetings when citing violations. I stepped into the yard, my bare feet pressing into the dew-soaked grass. That thing is how Lucas learns to balance. It's where he took his first unaided steps after the accident. Marge's grip tightened on the can. Don't you think I know that? Do you think I enjoy this? Her voice cracked. But rules exist for a reason. First it's this swing, then the Johnsons want their plastic flamingos, then the Garcias install that hideous, for God's sake, Marge. I cut her off, my voice echoing across 3 backyards. We're not talking about lawn ornaments. This is my son's mobility. The distant wail of sirens began threading through the trees. Marge's head snapped toward the sound, her carefully applied lipstick smearing as she bit her lip. You called the police? Her laugh came out shrill. After all I've done for this community, the property values I've protected, the standards I've... You were about to burn down a medical device. I advanced, watching gasoline drip onto her pristine white sneakers. Do you even hear yourself? When did our neighborhood become more important than our neighbors? Marge's chest heaved. It's not that simple. If we make exceptions... Lucas isn't an exception. My shout sent a nesting robin bursting from the oak tree. He's a little boy who needs to walk. What's wrong with you people that a child's wheelchair ramp gets more complaints than old man Henderson's actual junkyard? The swing creaked in the breeze between us, its worn hand grips gleaming under the streetlight. Marge's gaze dropped to the adaptive harness still hanging from the crossbar. For a heartbeat, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Maybe doubt, maybe shame. But then she straightened her shoulders. The board voted, she said stiffly. No unapproved structures, no exceptions. I never imagined I'd be the guy with that neighbor story, the kind that starts with a dream home and ends with a courtroom drama. But life has a way of throwing curveballs. My name is Michael. 7 months ago, my wife, Sarah, and our 8-year-old son, Lucas, moved into Willow Creek, a picturesque, tree-lined neighborhood just 10 minutes from the children's hospital where Lucas receives treatment. Lucas has cerebral palsy. He's the toughest kid I have ever known, with a laugh that can light up a room. We chose Willow Creek for its accessibility, excellent school system, and proximity to Lucas's therapy clinic. The community looked like a postcard, manicured lawns and smiling neighbors walking golden retrievers. But we didn't know about Margaret Miller. At our very first HOA meeting, Marge presented us with a binder, 3 inches thick, of the HOA's rules and regulations. It was color-coded, annotated in fine cursive, and felt more like a legal deposition than community guidelines. I've been president for 8 years, she said, her smile so tight it seemed sculpted. Property values have soared 30% under my leadership. That's because I enforce our standards without exception. The way she emphasized without exception sent a chill down my spine, but I smiled politely. We were here for Lucas. I wasn't about to start a war over garbage cans. At first, the problems were minor. A warning letter arrived because our trash bins lingered curbside an hour past pickup. Then we got dinged because our mailbox was a 1/4 inch narrower than the standard. A 1/4 inch. I measured it myself. Annoying, sure, but we complied. We weren't trying to make enemies. Then spring came, and everything changed. Lucas's physical therapist recommended a custom-designed swing set and sensory play area in our backyard. It wasn't just a luxury, it was part of his treatment plan. The swing would help build his core strength and motor control, and the sensory features could calm his anxiety and overstimulation. When we told Lucas, his eyes sparkled. "Can it be green, like the forest?" he asked. Sarah and I threw ourselves into the project. We worked with the therapist, got professional blueprints, matched the paint to our fence, and submitted everything to the HOA's architectural committee 3 weeks before installation. We even included a letter from Lucas's doctor explaining its medical necessity. 2 days before installation, I got an email from Marge. "Request denied. Equipment fails to meet neighborhood aesthetic standards. Resubmit with modifications." I stared at the screen in disbelief. The swing set was within all size limits, painted in. Earth tones and hidden behind our backyard fence. I picked up the phone. She answered on the first ring. "Michael," she said coolly, "I expected this call." I explained this wasn't just a swing, it was essential medical equipment for a disabled child. Her tone didn't change. "I sympathize," she said, "but rules are rules. Exceptions open the floodgates. Have you considered an indoor option? Or the community park?" I clenched my jaw. The park doesn't have accessible equipment, and Lucas needs daily therapy at home. The Americans with Disabilities Act protects reasonable accommodations like this. There was a pause, then her voice turned icy. "Are you threatening legal action, Michael?" "Our legal fund is substantial. We've never lost a case." I hung up, heart pounding. I wasn't going to let this woman steamroll my family. I hired a real estate attorney. He confirmed what I already knew. She couldn't legally block medically necessary accommodations. Together, we drafted a formal letter citing ADA protections and sent it to the full HOA board. 3 days later, the board voted unanimously to approve our application. Marge included a bitter footnote: "Approved under exceptional circumstances." I didn't care. Victory was ours. Lucas was thrilled. The swing was installed the next week. I'll never forget his giggle the first time he soared through the air, wind in his hair. "Higher, Daddy, higher," he shouted, beaming. For 2 blissful weeks, everything was perfect. Then came the notices, noise complaints. Lucas's laughter is disruptive to the neighborhood ambiance. Visual impact concerns. The swing set is visible from the street at certain angles. One letter claimed the equipment violated a newly added clause about non-conforming structures. Each time I sent back the board's formal approval. Then one afternoon I caught her, Marge, teetering on her toes at our fence, cell phone raised, snapping photos. "Can I help you?" I asked, stepping into the yard. She flinched but recovered. "Routine compliance check," she said, smoothing her blazer. "Several neighbors have expressed concerns." "Which neighbors?" I asked, glancing up and down the empty street. "Everyone I've talked to loves what we've done for Lucas." Her smile cracked for a moment. "That's confidential." I was done playing nice. That night I printed flyers explaining Lucas's condition and the purpose of the equipment. I invited anyone with concerns to speak with us directly. I hand-delivered them to every house on the block. The response was incredible. People stopped by with cookies, toys for Lucas, and kind words. Some shared their own horror stories about Marge's rain, letters about flower pots, Christmas lights, even driveway chalk. One man, Greg, confided, "She tried to fine me for having a dented garage panel. I fixed it, but I never forgot." Emboldened, I let Marge's next few notices go unanswered. But then strange things started happening. Our mailbox was knocked over. Twice. The gate's lock was filled with glue. One morning, a bag of trash was dumped across our lawn. No notes, no witnesses, but the timing was too perfect. The message was clear. This wasn't over. I installed cameras. Front yard, backyard, hidden angles. Then came the night that changed everything. The motion alert pinged my phone just after midnight. Security app notification. Motion detected. Backyard gate. I stabbed at the screen with shaking fingers. The live feed showed a dark figure slipping through our gate, moving with that same stiff hesitation I'd seen at every HOA meeting. That telltale hitch in her step. "Marge." The name tore from my throat like gravel. Fire extinguisher, kitchen wall, sliding door. Bare feet hit freezing grass as I charged into the night. There she stood, gasoline can tilted over Lucas's therapy swing, the amber street light catching the silver in her unraveling bun. "Hey, what the heck are you doing?" Marge froze. Gasoline splashed across the wooden seat as she whirled around. The fumes hit me like a punch. "This eyesore doesn't belong here, Michael." Her voice was calm, clinical, like she was discussing property line violations. I nearly choked on my own breath. "Are you out of your mind? That's my son's therapy swing." Her lips curled around perfect dentures. "Your precious swing is ruining the aesthetic of this neighborhood. The board wouldn't act, so someone had to." The lighter clicked. Flames roared up the ropes with a sound like tearing fabric. "No!" White foam exploded from the extinguisher, coating the burning wood in freezing past. Through the chemical haze, I saw Marge stumbling back, her sensible loafers crushing petunias. "You don't understand," her voice cracked. "I built this community. I protected it. You brought in this circus." I stepped through the smoke, hands shaking, not from fear but from the effort of not wrapping them around her throat. "Lucas is a child, my child. You're trying to destroy equipment that helps him walk, helps him live." The lighter hit the grass as red and blue lights sliced through the fence. "Police! Step away from the swing set!" Marge didn't run, just stood there gaping like one of her prized garden gnomes. "Michael, you okay?" Ramirez's hand gripped my shoulder. I jerked my chin toward the security camera. "Caught her on the cam. Everything's recorded. She set fire to medically necessary equipment." The cuffs clicked around wrinkled wrists. "I'm the HOA president." Marge's voice climbed 2 octaves. "This is a neighborhood issue, not a crime." Ramirez tightened the cuffs. "Arson is always a crime, and when it involves a disabled child's therapy equipment, that's not just a crime, that's cruel." Watching her face crumple should have felt satisfying. Instead, I just felt tired. "Michael, please." Her manicured fingers twitched toward me. "I didn't mean. I thought." I wiped extinguisher dust on my jeans. "You thought you were above everyone, above the law. You're not." They led her away, her knees buckling like the hinges on a cheap gate. Alone in the wreckage, I stared at the swing. The ropes hung in blackened curls. The seat was a charcoal sketch of itself. But the frame, the goddamn frame, stood solid as the day I'd bolted it into the ground. 3 days after the fire, I stood outside the Willow Creek Community Center, gripping a manila folder packed with evidence. Photographs, the therapist's letter, and, most importantly, the security footage. I wasn't just a father anymore. I was a man with a mission. Sarah squeezed my hand. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm doing it anyway." The room buzzed with whispered conversations and shuffling papers. Every board member was present. Marge's chair sat empty, vacant since her arrest. A new interim chair, Mr. Wallace, a soft-spoken retired accountant, called the meeting to order. "We have a full agenda tonight," he began, "but we'll start with the community concern brought by Mr. Michael Jensen." I stepped to the front. My voice trembled at first, but then I looked at the photo in my hand. Lucas in mid-swing, laughing, and the words poured out. "I never imagined I'd be fighting my HOA to protect my disabled son. But here we are." I handed out copies of the doctor's letter and ADA statutes. I projected still images from the footage on a screen, showing Marge scaling the fence, pouring the accelerant, and lighting the fire. Gasps echoed around the room. "She tried to burn a therapy swing for an 8-year-old child," I said. "And for months before that, she harassed us, under the guise of rules. This isn't about property values anymore. It's about humanity. A hush fell. Then an older woman named Denise, a longtime board member, cleared her throat. I've served beside Marge for years, she said slowly, and I'll admit she scared me into silence more times than I care to admit. But this is evil. Another board member stood. I second that. I vote we issue a formal board resolution condemning her actions and begin proceedings to permanently bar her from holding any HOA position in the future. Motion carried, said Mr. Wallace. A moment later, a man in the back rose to speak. I recognized him. Mr. Patel, a quiet neighbor who'd once received a violation for leaving his garage door open. We want to help, he said. This community owes your family an apology. Let us rebuild the swing, and this time, we'll make sure it's even better. The footage was clear. The DA didn't hesitate. Multiple charges, arson, criminal mischief, endangering a child. In court, her lawyer painted her as a woman under pressure, but the evidence was undeniable. Her obsession, her campaign of harassment, her deliberate act. At sentencing, the judge didn't hold back. You abused your authority and targeted a vulnerable child. Your actions are disgraceful. Marge was sentenced to 4 years in prison with parole eligibility after 18 months. She was ordered to pay $12,000 in damages. As she was led away, she looked at me one last time. Her lips moved. This isn't over. But her eyes, they were filled with fear. Afterward, the neighborhood changed. The HOA elected a new president, a retired teacher named Beth, who promised transparency and compassion. The binder was rewritten. New rules prohibited discrimination against disability accommodations. Neighbors brought meals and offered to help rebuild the swing set. A local craftsman even volunteered to reinforce it with fire-retardant materials. One day, as I pushed Lucas on the new swing, he looked up and said, "Is the mean lady gone?" I nodded. "She's not coming back," he smiled. "Good. I like my swing." And in that moment, I realized Marge hadn't just underestimated the law, she'd underestimated the strength of a family and a community that finally found its voice. 6 weeks later, our backyard was transformed. The new swing set stood proudly in the same place, crafted from red cedar and steel, with sensory-friendly cushions and handrails. Local contractors had volunteered their time. Neighbors donated materials. Even the middle school art club had painted a mural on the fence, a brilliant scene of a child flying through the clouds, arms wide, smiling. The whole neighborhood was invited to the ribbon cutting. Balloons bobbed in the breeze. Tables overflowed with snacks and lemonade. A banner read, "For Lucas, a stronger tomorrow." Lucas sat in his wheelchair next to the ribbon, beaming. His therapist crouched beside him. "Ready?" she asked. Lucas nodded and gripped the oversized scissors. I guided his hands. "You've got this, champ," I whispered. The crowd erupted in cheers. Lucas's eyes lit up as he swung back and forth, the wind lifting his hair, his laughter ringing out like music. A neighbor, the same one Marge once reported for planting unapproved daisies, stepped beside me. "Looks like Willow Creek finally found its heart again," she said. I looked around at the smiling faces, at Sarah wiping tears, at Lucas soaring. "Yeah," I said, "and it took a fire to light it."